Salut. Welcome to Wacky Wedding Wednesday, where I read stories that I've written because I'm bored. Maybe we begin. It was his first day. He could hardly contain his excitement. There was a sort of fire in his belly as he stepped up those steps. There stood a little shrine, no taller than he was. He smiled and closed his eyes. Suddenly, the world around him swirled in all sorts of colors. He was breathless at how beautiful it was, and in front of him, there it was, a little fairy of silver and gold. She smiled at him, and a flurry of pink blossoms swirled around him. He stared in awe as the world seemed to appear around him. He fell on his butt, stunned. His toes felt the warm sand swish beneath him. To his side lay hundreds of palm trees, and to the left was a strange-looking squirrel kid. They made aggressive eye contact before the kid uttered a single word. "Corn?" He pulled out a giant corn cob from the air. He stretched out his hand. Caldwell just smiled, receiving the gift. The kid smiled and skipped away down the beach. For reference, I had just been watching Sonic Boom compilations, and I felt absolutely titillated and inspired. Let's see if we can find some others. I read a lot of them, but a lot of them are in cursive, and honestly, my brain having to restart. I didn't feel like doing it. Here we go. Here's one. It was out of nowhere. The crew had just been enjoying a nice day on the beach. They laughed and smiled ear to ear. Not to mention that Carly was there. Her name was short for Carl Boat, her father's favorite adult website. She was standing there in her full glory. She seemed uncomfortable having it all on display. That made Carlos even more exciting. Shh, man, you might want to sit down. You're at full mass. Carlos shook, mortified, and sat his butt down. It's okay, dude. I'm bricked up too. Tom laughed. He punched Carlos in the arm before looking out of the water. You gonna go for it or what? Carlos smacked himself and stood up. Tom smacked his ass with encouragement. And Carlos scampered into the water after Carly when he felt a rumble under his feet. He yelped, looking down to see the glowing light underfoot. He toppled over as a hole began to spread, and from it a giant beast emerged, vainly and oddly phallic. What could happen? For instance, I'm reading these, and each one was only a page because it was in between other things. So I only had so much space. So it's not perfect. Oh, and this one's kind of sad. She slowly picked up her feet, step by step. It was like needles stabbed her with each frozen step. Her legs were completely soaked up to the knees. With each step, she could feel her power dwindling. Her breath rose in front of her, and with each breath grew harder and harder to muster. Her arms were dragging on her side, pushing on the snow for just a little bit of support. Just one more little push, she kept telling herself. She could feel the drops of water freezing on her forehead. Her eyes was beginning to freeze shut from the little icicles on her eyelashes. Her arms were already gone. Completely numb now. There's no saving it. She managed even one more step. Her breath was shallow and cold. She stood like a statue, staring at the never-ending forest in front of her. In that instant, she felt an eerie sense of content as she fell into the snow like a beautiful little angel. You know, even though it's not perfect, I do find it fun. Like, it's nice to just have, like, cute little stories. I don't know. I also realize there's still a lot of sentences with he and she, which is probably not proper, but, you know, it's fun. It's still exciting. They're scary people. Why are people so scary? Oh no. Okay. And the final one for the day, to end it on a light note. His eyes widened as he saw what looked like giant pandas. They weren't just big, they were each about 3 stories tall. Each one had these adorable smiles that could light up the whole planet with joy. He noticed their little smirks just as they all leaned forward. They rolled forward, their bodies almost shaking the earth, even though it was terrifying to feel an earthquake. He couldn't help but laugh at how silly it looked. Their big guts made this silly sound jiggling as they flopped their way down the hill. He shrugged, and with a cry of excitement, he flopped down, curled in his own ball, and proceeded to follow suit. Just a nice little way to end. Just big old panda going, do this hustle, do 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 do.